Hey y'all, it's Jenni Moseley, and we are here live with the Elevate Effect. It's time to take the dental field to a whole nother level. Fly with me, folks. Let's get real and let's get uncomfortable.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Elevate Effect.
Woohoo!
We're back again with one of our favorite people, Mr. Paul
Finally.
Graham.
I've been waiting for this day since the last time.
Me as well.
Oh,
Me as well.
So
fun.
The last time we had you on, Paul, we got some good feedback. We talked about branding outside of the box, which I just listened to this episode again, actually yesterday.
Bree did too.
Awesome. And it's a really, really interesting. It's not something that in the dental field you typically hear or talk about. So Jenni was going to share a little bit of the feedback we got with you about the last one.
Yeah, Paul, it was really cool because, we are a very unique little company, and because we are cultivated from a very unique little practice. And to decide to do something like this in the dental field when you're a dentist or a dental office, it's a very big decision. And not many make it to saying yes to themselves just to do it. And parts of that are because it has to bring out the person. And I believe a lot that we'll speak about today, a lot of people, you can hide behind being a dentist. You can hide behind it a lot. And because you have this title and you have this thing you have to uphold. So this opens up, the layers get open and your onion starts to smell. No. And so it was interesting. They were like, gosh, it was like, it's really neat how he was talking about the personal branding component and in regards to how he helps all these different professions. And she was fascinated by how it connected to dentistry when she never thought she could ever. She was just like, I can't wait to hear this, because I'm like, how does that even connect? Like, they don't even see it, that it's even part of it at all. They truly believe that it's all about the dentistry. It's all about, implants, crowns, whatever. And so she said it was so fascinating to see that you guys are right. Like when you and I, we were talking mostly about and about that whole time where it takes you for like sometimes 5 years to get somebody to share or go to a level about themselves that they wouldn't do before. And she said, but I work for a really awesome guy, and I don't think half the patients know that. And your conversation was so eye-opening to go, yeah, it's brilliant. How come we didn't think of that, right? But, they just never think to do that. And so I think it was mostly when we were talking about trust, I guess. You're able to connect and trust to somebody before you even get there. And she was like, that's so huge, because if I'm in a room and I'm trying to tell them he's really great, he's a great dentist, he's great, he's a great guy. I mean, that's overselling somebody. And our branding stuff and your photography does that with zero verbal. It's all in the art. And she said I'm getting chills right now. And so it was so cool to hear that. And so I couldn't wait to tell you. That was one feedback. So
that's
kudos.
Awesome.
It is. And another person was actually at the seminar and also listened to the podcast, and ever since you were there, I've been dying to have another moment, and was excited to know that you were now part of this podcast, and was very motivated and touched by your video, that 6-minute video with all of the different photography. And she says that right at the end of that was like, and I don't want to, curse, but she said, holy shit, no wonder we're missing a huge piece. And then for us to really explain it, and you were able to have a full almost hour to give them explanation from the video. And she said it just ties in. She just says, you go into the office now and you look at your boss, or you look at the practice, and you go, oh man, we're missing a huge piece here. We're missing telling people what they're missing. And so they got a lot out of it. So as Elevate's vision and mission statement say, all we want to do every day of our lives is just change one person's life once a day. And I think we did that. And that's so, I'm so proud to do this with you.
Well, and that's very mutual. I'm very glad, thankful, and humbled to be able to spend this kind of time chatting with you. And you know what's so interesting about in both those comments you had, um, this isn't rocket science. It's just when you bring out your natural self in a branding process, it will pay dividends. And yet, it's for many professionals a very foreign thing.
It's weird, right?
Mhm.
You know, I
Well, it's very it's exposing yourself, right? There's a level of intimacy. I mean, even some of the things we're going to talk about today, um, it's kind of opening up the veil a little bit and exposing yourself and taking those risks that we talked about the last session. And
yep.
it's not an easy thing to do, and yet pays dividends in all sorts of ways when it's done properly and in line with somebody's personality.
Well, before we start, I'll start with this, Erica. I'd like to read. I was waiting for today. I mean, I have it in a text to send to you, Paul. No joke. And I never sent it because I'm like, I really feel like I should say it. And I started this text probably. Well, when did she send this? Well, let me just say it. And I mean, I could tear up doing it because I'm just so proud of what we're doing together. This is from a patient. Okay. Onward and upward. I say it often. My glasses. Oh my gosh. Don't laugh at me, folks. They're going. Can
They
you?
might fog up from the heat.
Okay. And I haven't had to wear glasses, but I do all of this. Okay. Onward and upward. I say it often to people, but I rarely see it in action. And then she types with a bunch of M's in it and says, I absolutely did get to see onward. Thank you. Sorry, folks. Don't laugh at me. No. Ah. Woohoo. Okay. She said, I absolutely did get to see Onward and Upward when I opened the cover of the issue of the South magazine this morning. I swear I'm gonna tear up because it's been a long journey for me to try to get this done, Paul. And then she's with all uppercases, pow, exclamation point. It
Wow.
is like WTH good with GOOOOOD. The marketing is out of the box. She literally types this. The marketing
That's
is
very
out
cool.
of the box in the dentist category that it actually says we are beyond confident. I am a marketing major. And well done, you guys. She says, I love it so much. The best part of it definitely that you guys are the real deal. And you are proud and committed every day to every single person you promise to take care of. Hard to find these days. Proud to be with y'all. Keep going. Was it a Steve Martin quote that said, can't remember, but something like this: be so good they can't ignore you. No one is ignoring you, folks. Way to go beyond.
That is awesome.
And that is
Well
the
done.
shoot with
Hats
Amanda
off to
and
you. That's
is that off to you, us together? That's the one with Amanda and Ryan that you did when he's on
yeah.
the I mean, but I mean, you see, like, and this woman, high values, high priorities for herself, wants to. I mean, those are the people that you want, like you just said. It pays off. Expose yourself. I mean, like, what person would be comfortable sitting on top of a car? And way to go, Ryan. And way to, like, take yourself and just don't think about people and what they think about you. Take your full inner circle life cycle and just go for it. So I just
Agreed.
couldn't wait to read you that. So kudos. But she really typed
That's
in there out of the box, and I was like, Paul's gonna die.
that's
So
awesome.
cool.
That is awesome.
So
Sorry, Erica. Go ahead.
yes, that's okay. So today, Paul Paul answered some questions for us before the first time we sat down, and we loved one of his answers so much we wanted to make a whole episode out of it. So that's what we're going to do today. So Jenni in Elevate has a model that basically, maybe Jenni, you can explain it better, but brings in a spiritual component, an emotional component. Can you list all the other things and how that works?
I follow a lot of very scholared leaders, Brian Tracy's and Maxwell's and Ziegler's and all that, and they all are always, any really good solid person like that is going to teach you somewhat of a life cycle and balance, to have a spiritual component to you, a physical component, a personal component, a professional component, an emotional component. All of these components have to have a piece of you, and they have to have an inner balance. And I think what was fascinating for Erica was Paul's answer to it and my answer. Correct? Is that
Mm-hmm.
what you saw?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Paul mentioned that, he sees these all as holistic, and while total balance is unlikely and arguably unrealistic, each area below is interconnected. And you had mentioned that you need balance, and he had said it's unlikely. So, but you're saying the same thing, but yet you're saying it different.
Well, what's really beautiful about why I love our thing is, and the reason why you just said that is, we both recognize them all. And that's the shift. And to me, it doesn't matter how you say that you need to use them. It's that we both recognize them.
You both
And
recognize them as one, that you can't just pick one. You
yeah,
both say you need, like, they're all
like his
interconnected,
answer was
basically.
just proof that he has these things in his life.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask a lot of people, they don't answer that same way. And him and I tend to, we may use the cycle different, but we know they're there. That's the beauty of it, in my opinion. But go ahead.
Well, I see, and I think it's fascinating. Again, sort of like going back to the conference you had, how we were on the same page without really knowing it. I think we're on the same page here
Right.
in that all of those elements truly are holistic. We need all of those elements in our lives to be a whole person, if you would, and to really open ourselves up to growth. It's sort of like a personal pilgrimage, if you would, through life of trying to balance all those things. And I don't I call it the myth of balance. I've read a lot about this need for work life balance, and it's a good thing, and it's something I think we need to strive for, and it's part of that pilgrimage I just mentioned. But my perspective is, it's and maybe this is just me, but I think it's impossible to have balance amongst all of those elements. Whether it's that personal, the professional, the spiritual, the financial, the physical, and the emotional. I think were the elements that you raised. I just don't think at any given point in time they can all be perfectly balanced. Because I think when I look at, if you look at your professional growth, for example, and in the early days of a career, or early days of starting a company, that takes a tremendous amount of effort. And so, that may be taking up more of your life at that point. And, I'll speak personally to that, in that, my physical side took a beating on that because I was so focused on work and starting what I was doing. The emotional side, given some of the things I've gone through in life, that was out of whack for many, many years. That I spent a lot of money with counseling to kind of try and sort some things out. At 60, I think I'm kind of getting there. And so I think there's an ebb and flow along that pilgrimage, as we try and find all of those elements that will contribute to growth in our lives. And I just think at certain points in time, certain seasons of life, if you would, um, there's just some of those elements require more time, effort, and energy. But at the end of the day, I think we need to be striving to try and balance those things.
It's interesting you say that. So when I coach teams or whatever, I'm so picky with them on words, and I just learned for myself that I probably used balance out of context. Let me explain to me what balance means, and I might have used the wrong word. So to me, I don't think they all have to balance each other. I think they each have to have their own balance. for
Mm.
example, like, and again, so I don't know how to say that for like, I'm laying in bed 3:30 in the morning. I wake up. I start worrying about something.
Mm.
I am balanced enough in each part of that. I know which part to go to. Do I go to my faith and just go, hey God, help me go back to sleep? Because I feel like each one of those components for me, I'm comfortable to use because I have balance in each one of those. Or do I say, do I need to get up and just go exercise? Or I utilize one for the other to trump if one is not in line. And so that's what I consider balance. I'm in the sales room. And to me, and even coming up with a vision of approaching you with a campaign, I look at all those components. For example, for me, and then you correct me if I'm wrong because you're more professional about the branding thing, but I'm thinking of a campaign, and I got to really think of how are people going to emotionally attach to this thing. But
Mm.
then I don't want them to think that it's too expensive, so that's their financial component. And then I go, okay, but like, you got to make sure they see that they can actually do it. It's possible. They can then go physically eat and they can live. Branding itself should have all those inner components. Now, are they all going to balance each other? No, but they should each be a part of everything. So I guess that's what I really meant is I'm so confident in each part. And I think that's why I keep going and I never stop. And it's probably frustrating for people around me because when one is dropping, I just pick up the other part. That other part needs to take over the part that's dropping. I can't ever,
What?
and so, yeah, go ahead. Is that balance? That's not balance. What
I
word is
think
that?
no. I think we're saying the same. We're saying the same
Ah,
thing, just in a different way. It's that, and to me, that word holistic is key to all
mm,
of that, right? Because you can't. I suppose you can, but in my opinion, you can't remove one of those elements without having that. If you remove an element, it's something's going to suffer in your life, and so to be able to try and strike that or understand the holistic nature of that. Um, I think we're saying the same thing, Jenny, just
cool.
in a different way.
Well, when you work with dentists, as we were discussing, I mean, dentistry for many years was like the number one suicide rate, and it's
Hmm.
it's it's fascinating to talk about because I do believe that, like you said, when you go to dental school, it's a very highly, I mean, you really only can do one thing. It's a very highly focused one type of thing. And so you feel locked. And there's like false, like, and when you have a bad day, it's like, oh, I can't just, with this degree, I can't just go get, it is it. And you feel very isolated. And so I see a lot of people in the dental field not being balanced in each one of those areas to go, when you have a stressed out patient, go upstairs and pray. Or when, focus on why you're there, or have a little gratitude. I don't know. Like there's sections that I feel people, they don't pull from because they're not strong in each section. So if you work on each section, then when you're down in one, the other one should pull you up.
I
Or
agree.
if you're, let's say, you have a rough financial year. I have those, and I have weak moments where, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden I go, whoa, 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 pull from another party that's strong, and let's figure this out, right?
Can
I
you
just think
talk
the dental field needs it big time.
can you talk more about how you bring that into branding someone?
Yeah, I would love to, like, yeah.
Boy, that's a huge question, and I think the most successful branding, and I think we talked about this in November. Um, the most successful branding is when you're bringing your own personality out into that, and being able to take a risk and put yourself out there and have that message um, correlate with who you are as a person, as a professional, as a spouse, as a friend. Having again that holistic approach to all of those elements of growth in our life. I think that's the better somebody understands themselves, the better that they understand the so that we talked about last time. They do this so that they can achieve these other things in life and achieve that that desire to bring some balance and some understanding and structure into how a person wants to grow, how they're going to grow their business. I think all of those elements, the more somebody understands themselves, the more they understand their message of what it is they're doing and what they want conveyed to people that are hearing that message, I think the more successful the branding is going to be, because it's real, right? It's always easy to communicate the truth, and it's easy to live. It's easy to talk about. It's easy to show that you actually have empathy and you care about. In this case, the dental clients that you have, that the dentist actually cares about them and wants them to feel better. I know you do a lot with your clients, and I just listening to some of the clients you had when you videoed Ryan's clients a couple of weeks ago. It was awesome to hear how their lives have been transformed by the work that Ryan does, the work that you two do with the clients, and to me that was just a great example of Ryan living his life and his profession in a way that encompasses all those areas of growth.
Yeah, it's funny. Last time we talked, you talked about some people, it takes them years. And it's so true. Like, I believe that, I mean, look at even just our evolution with Ryan and himself. It's incredible to see him out there now in some of these shoots, because I believe that our practice has allowed him to own a side of him that he was never able to show. And these photo shoots are been able to bring out that outside of the box of who he really is. It lets him be himself, and he doesn't care. And that's why I believe it's sometimes not even the first one. Like, it would probably take us 2 or 3 times to get people to really, fruition of what they really are. And so, as we do this more, I tend to, think, should some of my questions be more about, are you balanced? No, right. But because it's funny, you go back to the first photo shoot to now, they're all amazing. The photograph itself doesn't change, but Ryan, his eye, and what you see in his eyeballs from under the talmage till under that graffiti, his face
Right.
was so him now. And that's so cool to watch the evolution of somebody through this. And that's, to me, the him owning more about himself and having that full circle. I just, it's weird, Paul. I wish you would see him, because as a dentist, he doesn't have that. And so I wish he would bring that person in, right, Erica? I mean, it's weird. It's when you get in this profession, and Erica can probably speak to it. She's a hygienist, and that's why I'm kind of like all over the place, because you're stuck in a field that you do feel locked. You feel like, that's why when I bring up this branding stuff, they're like, what? I mean, I'm a dentist. Like, it's very hard for them
That's
to think
the box
about.
they put themselves in.
That's it. And it's exciting to finally, like, winners. I mean, it took me a while, but then this, for him to literally look at me and go, I'm ready, let's do this. I'm like, that means there's a one of the layers has been shed, and it's so cool to see it.
Well, I mean,
Well, I think that he is. Sorry to interrupt, Erica, but I think that he took a risk, right? When you sort of conceptualized where you wanted to go with branding and communicating for Beyond Exceptional, um, it took some time for Ryan, I think, to buy into it, and it was a risky thing, because it's definitely not your usual dentist type of photography. The message that's being communicated in the advertising is phenomenal, but it's fresh and it's new, and I think that the more we do it, the more comfortable he gets. I think he's understanding where you wanted to go with this, and man, that's really fun for me to be able to shoot something like that, someone like that, and just see them have some fun.
Yeah, I think the that's why this, and Eric's going to say something. That's why this topic, I think, was big for me to bring into the branding conversation with you, because I think that if anyone's listening, that's even working at a dental practice and, wants to somehow add this component or what have you, it's like, look at all these components and are they being utilized in the practice, and are they being utilized in the message? I guarantee 100% of them are not. And so what's so unique about us and what we're trying to do is to bring the human into the profession, because we tend to not have the human in it. We just have a mouth of teeth. And so it's neat to do that. But Erica, you were going to say something.
So your background didn't start in photography. Your background started in, and I'm not even sure I know what it is fully, so you could help me understand, mergers and acquisitions. That sounds like
That's
paperwork to me. I'm not sure.
Deals. It's deals. There's a lot of numbers that go into that, but yeah, there's a fair amount of paperwork that goes along with
not
it.
photography.
Lawyers do really well. No, not a lot of photography with that.
And now you're photographing Ferraris. You're going to racetracks. You're doing,
you're in Miami.
You're doing cool things. Weren't you at Homestead Racetrack last week?
Yes. Yeah, I was just there last week. Yeah.
So cool.
So to go from where you were to where you are now, you had to be able to think differently. And I'm just thinking, as a hygienist that I am now, if I'm listening to this thinking I want to go somewhere and be different, how can I use these things and use the balance in them to get myself there?
Well, I think maybe a little context might help with that. I was, and I'm not sure if I shared this story. If I have, forgive me and tell me to switch topics here. But I was in business school. Didn't know if I was there for my dad or me, and couldn't answer the question, so I withdrew, which went over really well at the dinner table that night. And then, especially when I asked him if he would finance me to go study photography at Berkeley, because part of how I paid for my university was actually taking pictures and stuff. And he had 2 words for that I won't share on air. But
we can guess.
Yeah, so I ended up going to a great photography school in Canada at the time. It was one of the top schools, and did very well there. Nikon hired me, so I've got to do some cool stuff with them, and then went back into the business world because I kind of had the answer that I was there for myself, not necessarily for my dad, and so I spent a large number of years just flying around buying companies and selling companies, and I always say that the creative side of me that I took away from photography school and what I did with Nikon just brought a whole level of a different realm of creativity for me into my business life. Photography is very much a business for me today, but I don't think I would have had. And there's a balance between the technicality of buying a company and the creativity that's necessary to structure a deal in a way where it's good for everybody at the end of the day. I think that there was a duality there that I don't necessarily think I would have had if I hadn't gone to photography school. I just learned to see things in a different way, to talk to people in a different way, to see light in a different way, to see details in a different way. That's both sides have affected the success that I've had in both worlds. I'm not sure if that answered your question or not,
Great
but
question.
I think that's the context
answer.
that I came from.
It was beautiful. I mean, that was an incredible question, and you nailed the answer. For again, not to steal your total moment there, because you really answered that great, because you proved what we started with. You literally did. It's you have this inner balance. Again, the word, but I get it. Right? You're taking each part of those, because they each have purpose for you. They each have, I believe that, for example, even in sales, very simple sales, when you have balance in each one of those, they each have purpose, and you utilize those for their own specific purpose. And if it's appropriate for the environment there, you use it there. And if it's not there, and that's what you did. You're grabbing all those inner parts of you that have purpose, and you're putting it in the right venue. I think the message is that you get lost if you don't focus on you first, or you don't know. Like you said, there's creativity. You were creative. There's a business side. You have a business side. There's all these components that you knew you had. You just had to figure out where to put them all into one place. And that's what I think what happens in the dental field, Paul. It's very sad. We're only one company that ever does this, right? So there's not a lot of focus. I mean, there's CE credits, which are continuing education, that are constantly about the same thing. And there's no continuing education that teaches you about even communication, even financial, learn how to do your finances, even your emotional state or professional. I mean, I'm trying to do these really weird focus groups this year. And the first one in January was just how to teach goal setting. Do you know how to set a goal? Do you know how to, do you know how to take the steps to do it? I mean, and we're teaching dental people this stuff. The next one, which is connecting to what we're doing now, it's life management equals time management. How to be better in time management in your day-to-day at the practice. Because when you're in the dental field, the typical practice, right, Erica? I mean, it's ready, set, go. And our practice, a complete opposite. I mean, we're like ready, set, stop. Okay, let's plan. Okay, and then we can go. But the neat part about, I think, what you said, which is just so cool, is that a hygienist, like Erica said, is sitting there right now, probably crying. Oh, yay! No. And she can hear that hygiene, there's so many great qualities of what you have. An emotional part because you are connecting with so many people, and you're like their bartender. They come in, they get to share with you things that they don't get to share with people. You got to have a physical component because you're sitting there, the ergonomics of trying to be in a chair and not getting all decrepit. You're there to make money. There's a professional, there's so many components. So just write a circle on a piece of paper and just write in those things as a hygienist. What parts of each of these pieces does hygiene give me? And then take all those pieces, put it on a separate piece of paper and go, where can I put those in a different profession? And I guarantee you can put 10 professions. We just can't see outside the box, right? We can't see outside the box. The motivation that you just did.
I think a big element for me that kind of wraps everything up that I really do. It's a mindset. It's my worldview. It's who I want to be as a man, and wrapping all of those elements up with gratitude, because I've done some wild things and met some wild people in Africa and Europe and Canada and the United States with what I've done on both the M&A side and photography. I've just I have for years pinched myself and said, I can't believe I get paid to do this, because I enjoy it so much, and I'm just so grateful to have the opportunities that have been given to me, and the just incredible people that I've met along the way that I've been able to serve and to impact their lives. That's a big deal for me, of wrapping it all up in that element of gratitude.
Yeah, well, you just brought tears to my eyes. Eric and I had a conversation last night in the car, and it was about 20 minutes talking about gratitude, and you just said it. And so we're just getting slightly emotional because Elevate does that. The Elevate effect is truly touching a part of you that, like you said, vulnerability. We're willing to get real and get uncomfortable, and that's where you grow, right? And so Erica is taken such a really cool leap in her career, and it's going to have a lot of different stresses. And I just kept telling her over and over again, which was like beating a dead horse, but you say it so much better, and it's an irritating, Paul. Okay,
I finally heard it now that Paul said it.
Sweet. Yeah, whatever. All of a sudden now she's going to
now
listen.
It makes sense.
But I mean, literally for like 20 minutes I was like, listen, whatever happens, just sit there and say, I am grateful. Even if it's a stressful situation, you're grateful for the stressful situation. Because guess what? Part of it is part of what you want to do. So just have gratitude. It will get you where you need to be. And so you had to just sum it up and make me cry and whatever. But
So,
but it's so true.
Well,
But,
to your point, I have what I've called my spectacular failures in life, and I've had a lot of them where I've really screwed up, and
I love to
I've
fail.
learned
It's
from
fun.
those the best. What's
Yes.
that?
It's fun. That's where you learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm grateful even for those spectacular failures because I've learned from every one of them. Hopefully, not to repeat them again, but I'm grateful for that experience to have gone through the peaks in life and then the valleys in life.
I mean, a summary, right, Erica?
yeah, I
Is
was
that what
just
you're
going to
asking
say
for?
to wrap it up. Two quick questions. One is, to me, just make sure I'm hearing all this correct. It sounds like both of you see these as I just need to I need to find the one in this moment to pull from to make this moment work, or in this situation I need to find the one to utilize to help whatever I'm in right now. So they each have to be constantly worked on and used. Like, say, the physical, you can't just let that go away to be able to bring it up when you need it. You can't let your faith go away and then just expect to pull on it if you're not practicing that. So,
That is a great way. You just summed it up beautifully. Good job. Like,
and
truly.
and then if the other thing I'm thinking is, if I'm somebody listening thinking, well, I can't, my physical is completely, I don't even have that to pull from. How do you build up an area that you feel is weak?
May I answer real quick? Physical doesn't mean you have to get up and exercise every
Well,
day.
I'm just trying to say, if I feel in one of these areas, maybe I'm looking at it, one of these areas I feel is a weak area that I can't pull from to make it through a situation.
What I would do is in testing yourself is what physically is something that would create a motivational moment for you. For example, I remember working with a new patient coordinator that was, just this naturally very thin person. Was like, can eat whatever she just didn't feel the necessity to have exercise or anything like that in her life because she didn't need it. Right. Okay. And I said, listen, it's not about saying, I want you to go run a mile. That's not it. I just meant, you know, can you utilize your physical health to get you out of a slump one day? And that's the ticket. It's, for example, like if you're laying around and you're having a bad moment, can you utilize and go, you know what, I'm going to go outside and see what God created and go for a walk? Can you utilize your physical self to motivate yourself out of a moment? That's what it is. It's not necessarily like physical is exercise and financial is money. It's actually, are you solid? Are you solid in each one of these, that each one of these you utilize is power for yourself? And as Paul put it, which I love, is like they're not ever completely, they can't be balanced because you're never going to use them all at the same time, but each one has to have balance. And it's a holistic thing. It has to be, like he said, he wants to be just a man that it has these components that makes him proud. Be just the human that has all these components. Don't just be one part.
Mm. Well said. Well said.
If there was an exercise that each one of us could give, like if I could give just a takeaway of an exercise,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'll piggyback. I'll say something that I'll piggyback something Paul has said, and I do believe that take whatever it is that you really enjoy to do, and then make the circle, and write those components in a circle, and whatever thing that you enjoy to do, write in each one of those what each one of those would connect to what you enjoy to do, and recognize if all of them are there, then it's highly possible you're doing the right thing and you're in it, the right profession, or whatever it is that is. And if not, then try to figure out how those components that you're not utilizing, you could, because it could be that you are hiding behind what it is you think you have enjoying to do. If you're not fully in, then you're not fully in. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, and I agree with you, and I think if there are areas, of that continuum, or of that personal pilgrimage, as I referred to it as, if there's elements that are lacking, one I think what you said requires some honesty with yourself about what really motivates you, what excites you, what will help you grow, and then what's missing, and then there are a multitude of ways to try and figure out what to do with what's missing. But if you don't incorporate all of those elements into your life, whether it's, some areas will be at a peak, some areas will be at a valley, other areas will be kind of balanced. But I think it's constantly this sort of emotion amongst all those elements through our lives. Unless you kind of put some real thought and effort into what makes you tick with all of those things, then I think it's a difficult way to go through life, because I don't think you're necessarily being honest with yourself or honest with the people that you're serving with what you do.
Last piece is, if you look at any of the photo shoots, truly, I would say that the most incredible ones that I've ever seen are when that person in front of what he's already building as an incredible vision has finally fully accepted who they are, and they shine through that lens more. And I've seen it, and I get chills and so that's just proof right there. Try it. It'll blow your mind. Just try it. It'll change your life. So,
and wrap it in gratitude.
Wrap it in gratitude.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. As you know, we're always looking for feedback, so please don't forget to give it to us. Let us know if there's anything you want to hear about. And don't forget to follow us on social media so you don't miss out on what's coming up next.